Hello and welcome to Abby's Coaching House, your home of transformation. This is the space where we grow into the best versions of ourselves. My name is Coach Blessed Abby. I am a transformational life coach. My motto is transforming lives, one life at a time. I aim to reach the world with the message of transformation because, as I say, I am a product of transformation, and so I want other people to experience real transformation, to be the versions that they were created to be, the God-given versions of themselves. If you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing to this channel. And if you've been here, thank you so much. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. I appreciate you. We have been on this 40-day gratitude challenge, and today is our day 35. It's been enjoyable. It's a great day, and I thank God for the far we've come. And as you can tell, I am in a different attire, a celebration attire. And maybe you can tell one of the reasons I decided to do this gratitude challenge. But I thought, why not engage other people, my YouTube family, my online family, to be part of the gratitude challenge, because I felt I had so much to thank God for. And today, I celebrate my 13th wedding anniversary, and I am so grateful to God for the far He has brought me. So welcome, let's share this journey. Let me share with you my highlights, my joys, and some of the things that have been hard and how we have overcome them. So welcome and enjoy being part of this video. As I have said, today we are celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary. And so my daughter insisted that I have to wear something that I had on my wedding. And so I decided to settle on this because I couldn't do the gown. I'm not sure I can fit in, but I will try see if I can fit into the same gown now. And my daughter is disappointed. She thought that during the anniversary, we actually repeat the whole event. And I'm telling her, do you know what it means to put up a wedding? That's something I'm not willing to do as a repeat. But yes, I celebrate and I thank God for the far we've come. It's been 13 years of sharing life with my husband, and I really thank God that He has brought us this far. I am grateful to God for His love, for His grace, and for Him being the center of our marriage. I thank God for His blessings, for our children, Bruce, Beverly, Bevin, and Benny, and by extension, Karen. These are blessings in our lives. I'm grateful for our parents. I'm grateful for our siblings, for the church, for the support they've given us, and our friends. They have been part of this incredible journey, and I'm really grateful for walking this journey together with them. They are such a blessing. So today I decided, let me share with you the highlights of this journey, some of the things that have not been so great, but today I really want to focus on the highlights as we thank God together for what He has done. You may get a thing or two that you can pick from me, that you can pick from this journey, that will also be a blessing to your own journey. Our 13-year story has been characterized by different episodes. The good, the great, the not so good, the not so great, the beautiful, and even some ugly. But we thank God that we have come this far. And we have made a commitment to make the rest of the journey memorable, full of beautiful memories, by the grace of God. You see, marriage is the only institution where you're given a certificate before you get into the school, because really, marriage is a school. How do you learn how to stay with this man, how to stay with this woman? How do you learn how to parent without any school in parenting? Of course, there are so many materials that you can read about parenting, about marriage, but really, I don't know if many of us read them before. For me, most of them, I read them after. I'm grateful for the premarital counseling class that we had before marriage, because my husband and I agree it played a major role in shaping our lives, our beliefs. I remember when asked, what are your roles in marriage? I said them from what I had seen with my parents. I had seen my mother cook, wash, take care of the children. I had seen my dad provide, do the hard stuff. So for me, when I was going into marriage, I knew that is what I was going to do. But then I remember our premarital counseling class instructor asking, what if for you, Abby, your spouse was unwell or something happened to them and they could not provide? Don't you think you may have to step in? And then he asked my spouse, what if for you, your wife, or now your wife-to-be, was unwell, she couldn't cook, she couldn't wash, don't you think you will step in? And so he opened our eyes to see that marriage is where two teammates come together. You come together as a team. There is no really a cutting edge of your roles or what you're expected to do. And so we learned so much about finances, about in-laws, and about so many things. So I would recommend premarital counseling classes. I hope if you are a faith-based person going to wedding at church, I hope your church is the one that offers the same. And if it doesn't, you can actually get it from other churches where you maybe pay a small fee and you get this material, because marriage is a journey and you need to equip yourself before you get there. We all come into marriage with so much baggage. It could be financial baggage, it could be wounds from the past, things that we carried. For me, when I came into marriage, I came with the knowledge of what my parents used to do. I thought that what my mom used to do is what I would come do in my marriage. I expected my husband to do that which my dad used to do. I loved my dad, and so for me he was an idol. And so when my husband would do something that I felt was not what my dad used to do, I would almost ask, I would, try not to ask, but in my mind I would be asking, why is he not doing the things my dad used to do? And the few times I voiced it, it actually brought conflict. And I had somebody say, marriage is this institution that brings two wounded people together so that they can heal. That God uses marriage to heal. And so for me in marriage, I have learned unconditional love, loving myself and my spouse for who we are, loving myself for who I am, loving him for who he is, unconditionally. I have also learned unconditional forgiveness. I used to be this person, if you are wrong, I expect you to come to me with a list of why, how, where, all the reasons you did the wrongs that you did. But I realize sometimes when my spouse is wrong or when I perceive him to be wrong, he doesn't come with all those explanations. So I had to learn to forgive unconditionally and to love unconditionally. I have also learned to embrace our differences because we are different. We have come from different backgrounds. The first difference is he is a man, I am a woman. And so we are different based on that. But besides that, there are many other differences. How we perceive things, how we see the world. Our biggest difference has actually been in our parenting. He's a strict disciplinarian and this diplomatic parent who wants to discuss things over, and sometimes he thinks you're wasting time, just pick that cane and do what you need to do. But I'm thinking, let me discuss this thing, let's see if we can get our children to understand what we are telling them. So embracing our differences, seeing them as strengths and not weaknesses, has been something I have learned, something we have learned to love each other, because sometimes people shame each other because of their differences. The rolling of eyes happens because of differences, and sometimes it causes a rift and a drift in marriage because people do not appreciate the differences that they come with. But I have learned that differences are beautiful. The diversity that we come with is beautiful, and so we need to embrace it. So that is something I have also learned. So as I've said, we come into marriage with our own baggages. For me, I came with fear because I saw some things in my parents' marriage that I didn't like. And so I came wondering, am I going to see them? And you see, what you fear, you actually attract. So I had to deal with the fear. In the previous video where I have talked about self-esteem, that was something, a baggage I came with. So sometimes my spouse would say something or do something, and because my self-esteem was wounded, I would see it as if they are making a statement, and a negative one for that matter. And so it would really dent our marriage. It would, have a negative impact on our marriage. I wasn't as self-aware as I needed to be. Self-awareness, what I wanted, what I loved, I really didn't have that. And I wish that everybody who gets into marriage is really aware of themselves, has self-love, self-awareness, because I came in not having that, and you can tell that didn't have the best result in marriage. I also came with unspoken expectations, where you expect your spouse to do something and you don't say it. So I had many unspoken expectations, and I think he also had them, where you come expecting that my spouse will do 1, 2, and 3. And so when you don't do them, there is this silence where you are disappointed, but you're not saying it. With time, I have learned to speak my mind and say, I really expected you to help me here. I really expected you to handle this thing in a certain way. But then, I could not say it that way. I expected him to read my mind. I think that happens to us as women, that we expect men to read our minds. It doesn't happen because he is living his life, I am living my life. And so the best thing I can do is say, if you could help me here, if you could handle this in this manner, I would really appreciate. So those are some of the things I have come to learn over time, and they have been of help to me. So what are these lessons that we have learned over the past 13 years? Of course, there are many things that we've learned. I'm just picking on a few that I feel are key for me and maybe for somebody. Maybe somebody is here getting into marriage and they're asking themselves some questions. I hope to answer some of them. One of the things I learned is God is at the center of every marriage. He has to remain at the center of every marriage. There is this triangle where we draw, and God is at the top, my spouse on one end, and myself at the other end. When God is at the top, we all meet at this center, at this top center. And so chances of going parallel directions are very low. So when we have God at the center, each of us working towards pleasing God, making God happy with how we are treating each other, how we are treating this institution called marriage. Because remember, God is the initiator of marriage. He's the one who did marriage, and the Bible says actually God hates divorce. So he loves marriage, and everything God institutes is perfect. It's that we come in with our own imperfections. But if we did marriage God's way, then marriages would work. There is so much going around that marriage is a scam, marriage is bad. But I bet even those who say marriage is a scam, silently they are yearning for a fulfilling marriage. So I have learned, and we have learned, to keep God at the center of our marriage. How do we keep God at the center of our marriage? Praying together, praying individually. Remember, we have said we don't come with a manual to this institution. So how else do you make this work without God's help? So prayer for me and for us has been key. As a woman, I have had to put my knees down and pray and tell God, take me through this. Teach me how to love this man. Teach me how to be a good mother. Teach me how to handle this situation, because sometimes it comes and in your own wisdom, you really cannot handle it. So you really need God to come through for you and help you to handle the situation at hand. And reading the Word of God has become a manual, a very important part of our journey together. And we have challenged each other to read the Bible together and just to be there sharing it together, and it has really helped. Sometimes it doesn't become as consistent as we want, but we remind ourselves that we need to do this. That has helped us to keep God at the center of our marriage. Number 2 is challenging each other to stay in the momentum. I listened to someone say most of the time people use so much energy, so much effort to win each other over. Maybe a man will use so much energy, so much effort. There will be gifts, there will be flowers, there will be beautiful words, there will be dates and all that before marriage. But once we cross over, then we lose the momentum, we lose that energy. We just stop and assume that everything will work on its own. So it's important to challenge each other or to challenge ourselves to stay in the momentum. Date every other time afresh, just like you did then. I normally tell my husband jokingly at times, you need to date me the way you used to, because we need to make this afresh. And so we need to challenge each other to do things afresh. The same energy you used to get, use the same energy to keep, or even increase the energy to keep that which you got, because I bet it is precious. For you to have gotten it, it was precious and it remains to be precious. Number 3, marriage is a journey of commitment. Hard times do come. I cannot say if they come. I can say when they come, because they really do come. Challenges happen because remember, you're different. You have come, 2 families have come together. So challenges will come from whichever direction. So commitment is what will hold you together. When marriage becomes a must do, not just a should do. You know, many people say I should do this, I should do that, but then they don't do it. But when it becomes a must do, then you get yourself doing it. Challenges happen, like when we go to the gym. Personally, when I go to the gym, I actually know that I'm expecting to feel some muscle pain. I'm expecting to get tired and to sweat. But then I don't go into the gym, and then when I come out, I ask myself, with all this pain, is it a sign that I should give up going to the gym? But most people, when challenges come in marriage, they begin to think, is it a sign that I'm married to the wrong person, or I shouldn't be here? I have ever been there where I actually wondered, am I married to the right person? Did I make a mistake? But then later I realized it's not really about the right and the wrong person. It's about how I'm approaching things, my commitment. And so commitment holds you together when things are tough. And so the decision to stay committed, even when things are difficult, when things are not rosy, it is said that it's a bed of roses, and these roses have some thorns. So when these thorns begin to prick, how committed do you stay to the course? How do you get the energy to remain focused, to love this person that you said I do to, and you said for better, for worse? You know those words. Sometimes we joke with my husband and say, that is the worst you talked about when you said for better, for worse. But then, of course, we shouldn't be bringing the worst intentionally. But sometimes things happen that you have not planned for. I read this, quote. Let me just read it as it is. Every struggle in your marriage is going to be a story someday. It's either going to be a story of how you became stronger, grew in faith, and leaned on each other, or how you gave up. You don't pick your struggle, but you pick the end of the story. You have got to be strong for each other. A strong marriage rarely has two strong people at the same time. Each party is strong in turns. And so, in our journey together, there are times that I have been the strong party. There are times that my spouse has been the strong party. But just being there for each other because of the commitment you have made is what has held us together. So how committed are you to the course that you've taken in marriage? Commitment is actually key. Number 4, focus on giving and not just receiving. Most of the time when we come into marriage, we come with the mentality of what am I going to get? Sometimes a man comes thinking, I'm going to get someone to cook for me, to wash my clothes, to do so much. A lady comes thinking, I'm going to get someone who will do the provision, who will do the hard tasks in the house. But then, do we think of what we are going to give? And most of the time, people come together as two receivers and not two givers. I bet a strong marriage will be made of two givers who are coming together with the intention to give. And so I have learned that I should think of what am I going to offer my husband in this marriage. What am I going to give? I am actually happier and fulfilled when I give, because when I think of receiving and my expectations are not met, then I get disappointed. But when I give, for example, it's a birthday and I plan on how I'm going to give a certain gift and I go ahead and give it, I feel so happy and so fulfilled. That smile on his face makes me feel happy and fulfilled. But if I'm expecting to receive and it doesn't happen, then I get disappointed. So we should also focus on giving and not just receiving. And that will give us so much joy. Joy of two givers coming together. To give to each other, to contribute to each other, to contribute to the joy of each other and the well-being of one another. Number 5, marriage does not grow on autopilot. You see, when a plane is in the air and the pilots have gotten to the attitudes that they are comfortable, sometimes they leave it to go on autopilot. And they are very comfortable. They know that the settings they have put, everything is okay, and so they can even rest. But marriage cannot grow on autopilot. Sometimes we leave things to grow by themselves, and we get disappointed when they don't. And that happens especially when the children come into picture. We focus so much on the children and forget to focus on each other. That happened to us, that sometimes we would go for a week or more without even talking about each other, even about addressing the issues or just asking each other, how exactly are you doing? A time came when we had to make it a priority every evening to ask each other, what was your highlight for the day? Did you have a hard time during the day? How did you handle it? And then we would just go through it together, and that helped us to enhance our marriage, to enhance our relationship, to enhance our bond. Marriage is work. You have to work at it like any other thing, any other institution. If you have to keep it thriving, you have to work at it. So marriage does not grow on autopilot. So don't leave the marriage unattended to and expect it to thrive. By the time you come back, there will be all the thorns and the flowers would have disappeared. The roses will have disappeared. So it's important to give the marriage the attention it deserves, because marriage deserves a lot of attention. Number 6, I have mentioned before, embrace your differences and love your differences. Your differences are important. If you came together being the same, I think it will even be boring. So embrace your differences. Don't shame each other for your differences. Don't roll eyes at each other. I used to be this person who wanted to overcorrect. Just tell my husband, you should have done this, I think you should have done this. And then he would get mad at me because he would say, I am me and you are you. Why can't you just accept me and love me for who I am? And later I actually got to master that he is different and he's actually beautifully different. I am different and I am beautifully different. Number 7, as we have said, you get what you focus on. What you focus on grows. What are you focusing on in your spouse? Are you focusing on his strengths or her strengths or the weaknesses? What are you pointing out every day? I used to be this person who loved to point out all the weaknesses. And I would just sit and think, my husband can do this, he can do that. Why can't he just do this? Why can't he just do that? And I realized the more I focused on the failures, the more I focused on the downside, the more I was getting them, because as I focused on them, they grew. So choose to focus on the strengths. Choose to focus on what is beautiful in your spouse, and you will get it. And the last one, and this one was so important and so key, and I actually made it last intentionally, is never leave your partner behind. In the military, they are told never to leave their partners behind. And the same applies in marriage. Most of the time when things happen, like the death of a loved one, for us it was the case where we lost our parents, my parents-in-law, when we lost them. We did not really grieve together. We separated to go and grieve separately. And that worked against us. Some things happened later that we didn't handle them together. Each of us handled them separately. And that was a real shake-up to us. So later I came to learn, embrace each other. Cry together if you have to. Sit on the floor together and cry if you have to. But separating ways for you to go grieve, for you to go handle, because sometimes somebody will choose actually something that is devastating or destroying. Someone will decide, I can go drink, I can go party, I can, go into drugs or whatever they choose to do. But if you came together, you would embrace each other, help each other to go through the difficult times. Sometimes death happens. Sometimes loss of jobs happen. Difficult things can happen that you need each other's strengths. Remember, we have said sometimes the strength that you have is not equal. Each spouse, alternatively shares a different level of strength. So if you're the one who is stronger at this point, don't be quiet and say he will survive or she will survive. Embrace each other. Ask each other, how can I help you? And if you're the one struggling, be open to say, I need help in this area. I need your silence at this time. I need you to talk to me at this time. And that will really help. For us, that was somewhere we really didn't get it right. And it hit us hard. But now we have learned that we need to work together. We need to journey together in whatever journey that happens. That when I am struggling, I shouldn't be quiet and say I'm going to be strong through it alone. My husband shouldn't try to be the strong man alone. We should try to be strong together. Strong together is always better than strong apart, because that makes you to drift apart. So never leave your partner behind. Even in my transformational journey, naturally as women, we talk. And so I got to talk to other friends of mine and tell them I'm facing challenges here and there. And so they got me into this journey where I met my coach and we started talking, and I engaged into my transformational journey. And when I did, I decided I will not do this alone. I will just share the materials to my husband. Sometimes not even telling him, do this. I would just share, and then he would do them. Maybe some he wouldn't, but it helped us to grow together. We embraced reading books together. We embraced listening to marriage podcasts together, and that has helped us to grow. So it's important to grow together in the journey of marriage, because if you grow alone emotionally, physically, if you grow alone financially, it doesn't help. At the end of the day, you get home and you get to this lower energy. So once you are able to lift each other's energy, I know sometimes it's not always possible, because you may go to your spouse and they are not willing to engage in what you're doing. But when you can, go ahead and do it. It really helps. What has helped us through the journey in the last 13 years? One, we have learned to grow in communication. I would say communicate. I was this person who expected my spouse to read my mind, to see what is there and to do it. And when they didn't, I would be gloomy, I would be angry, I would just have low moods. But I have learned communication is the root of every success or every downfall. If you don't communicate, your finances will have an issue, your health will have an issue, any other area of your life will have an issue. So communicate. Speak your mind in the best way possible. Let your spouse know what do you want, what are your expectations. Don't leave the expectations to be unspoken expectations. Just have the expectations known to your spouse. I have talked about reading books. Read books together. Listen to podcasts together about marriage. I love listening to podcasts. When I'm doing my work, I will just put a podcast at the background and listen to it. And that has really helped me and helped us, because when I listen, I share. When he listens, he shares. And that has really helped us. And the last one is, as I always say, seek help. I reached a point where I realized I needed help. Sometimes, most men will not accept that they need help. And sometimes, even for us ladies, yes, we know we need help, but we don't go for it. We think it's expensive, or we think we can handle it ourselves. I tried handling things myself for a long time and it didn't work. So I decided finally, let me seek for help. Enough is enough. And that's how I got into coaching, and that's how now I am a coach helping other people. And marriage is a space I love. If you can seek help together as a couple, do it. It is not shameful to seek help. It's great to be vulnerable, but vulnerability is strength. By being vulnerable, I got the help I needed. But if you can't, be the change that you want to see. Get the change. Get the help as an individual. I went for the help myself, but then my help started seeping into my environment. I became a better wife. I became a better mother. I became a better sister, a better in everything that I did. So seek help when you can. Coaching can help. Counseling can help. wherever you feel guided, because all of us have this inner coach in us who tells us, go this direction. When you as a person feels that you need this help, go for it. Another coach, I love working with couples. If you are a couple and you want to work with a coach to help you in your marriage, to help you even before the marriage, let's talk. I will help you to get to know your personality. Sometimes the reason we fight is our different personalities. You get to know my spouse's personality. This is their personality. This is mine. And this is why we differ. And so with knowing those differences, then you get to embrace them, as I said earlier, and you get to enjoy a better life. You get to know your dreams, have your dreams together, and just know how to grow about them. So if you're willing and you want to get your marriage to a better space than you are right now, inbox me, let's talk, let's work it out together. But seeking help is such an important thing that you can choose to do. I finish with a quote that I also heard from one podcast that I had years back, and it says, couples with the strongest marriages are not the ones who have never had the reason to give up. They are the ones who refuse to give up through it. They kept going and chose that their story would be that of victory, one that God was at the center of it all. And I am grateful that despite our challenges, we have come this far. And so we celebrate God. We celebrate Him for what He has done. But I also celebrate my husband for being the person he has been over the years, because he has been a great support. He was there when I started my fitness journey, walked me through the journey, and helped me to come to where I am today. And so I am grateful for him. And I am grateful that I have had the grace as a woman to go through this journey. And so you too can have a beautiful marriage. Be encouraged that if we made it, you can actually make it. So I wish you a great life, a great marriage. If you're coming into marriage, congratulations. Marriage is beautiful. Marriage is workable. Marriage was made by God, instituted by God. Remember to make Him the center of your marriage. If you love what we are sharing here today, please remember to like this video. Be a blessing to this channel. Subscribe to the channel. Share this to someone who may need it. And let's keep growing. Let's keep encouraging and sharing the message of transformation to the world. Until another time, blessings. I love you. Bye.